living in the moment. It's the mom life.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Living in the Moment with B.
And Steph. Oh my gosh, my lighting is so bad today.
Wait, are
Sorry,
you on the
guys.
diapers again? Is that what's happening?
No, that we had to open the boxes. So my chair is off. I had to get my whole nightstand in here to record.
Oh, well, you
It
do
is
what you gotta do.
it is not good light though. No, yeah, you do what you gotta do. Something fun. Today we are talking just moms that are inspiring us right now.
Yeah, we want to just bring up moms that are having a good 2024, or like
Yeah.
Stephanie said, just moms that we really admire, because we like to champion moms. And so our first one is the one and only Miss Hilary Duff. And
Oh, the unproblematic queen. That girl.
yes,
She
the
has just been,
original Disney queen too. Yeah.
yes, doing so good since her Disney days. I love her.
Right, and she is 36. She had her fourth child, third one with Matthew Coma, and it's a girl, her third girl. So her first was a boy, and she had a home water birth, which I thought was wild, but she's had those with all three of her girls. And so
Hmm.
walk in the park for her. Did you see that podcast that she came out in? Dr. Berlin's Informed Pregnancy podcast, or did you hear it?
No.
So
Mm-mm.
yeah, she goes into detail, and she did say, I mean, I heard a little bit, and I've seen other interviews, but she said in her first pregnancy, I guess, after her son, after Luca, with Banks, she's kind of made it a family affair. So she allows her kids to kind of be in there if they want to. She doesn't force them. But she said with the first one, her first daughter, her son was there, and it was so emotional and overwhelming, and he started singing happy
I feel
birthday
like
to
that's
her.
slightly traumatizing for a small child, but you do you, girlfriend.
Well, I think, and she said that she's like, it's the most hippie thing, but it really just feels right. And if
Yeah.
they can walk in and out of the room. And so, anyways, he started singing "Happy Birthday" to Banks, and I think that's just a tradition that they've continued. Anytime that
Oh,
they,
that's adorable.
yeah, super cute. So,
She is kind of like I don't know what they call it. You're either the silky mom where you're like one end of the spectrum, or you're the crunchy mom where you're the other end, or you're the middle ground. I think it's scrunchy. You're scrunchy mom. And I some of the stuff that I found on her kind of puts her in that middle ground. Like, yeah, girlfriends, in her house doing water births. But she also said, I try to make like the most healthy decisions that I can. I try to help us live as healthy as possible, like, get clean things where I can. But I'm also not going to, make us turn away from, some artificial foods and, our normal everyday lifestyle. So, no, I love that. She lives a good middle ground.
so and explain to older millennials like myself, because I didn't know what a crunchy mom was till we did a TikTok, and she's like, "You're a crunchy mom," and I'm like, "What's that?" You mean I'm the
I think
Grinch?
I think you're a scrunchy mom too.
I was like,
just
"Is that a Krabby Patty? What does that
for the
mean?"
clicks, for the views, we called you a crunchy mom. So I will explain it the best I can. I don't think I'm an expert. I'm also up there in the millennial age, but like, how did you asked, right? And me and your husband were trying to explain it to you. It's like when you're trying to be like super, I guess holistic is the word. Like, you're not using any chemicals, you're eating organically, you're not using like screen time, and a lot of electronics. Like, it's all about imagination and like
Oh, I do love that though.
a
I we
holistic view type of
And
thing.
he does, like, I will say with JJ, just my insert is we do let him watch a little TV, but I am big on playtime and imagination and coloring and painting, because I love imagination. That's what we grew up with, right? We
Yeah.
didn't have entertainment, and so I want him to have his childhood. So maybe I am a little bit of a crunchy.
Well, like the no, sunscreen because of
Oh yeah.
toxins.
Okay,
Is
maybe I'm a little more.
Yeah, that's
than I
super.
think.
Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, but I think you walk a good middle ground too.
Oh
And
yeah.
just like we were saying, Hillary Duff, she does her water births, but she also enjoys wine and and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Some other cool things that I found on her, just in an article that I read, was that her and her husband she prioritizes self-care for herself, but her and her husband also prioritize time with each other, which I think is a great example for their kids. But B, she even said it in the interview that every Sunday they go play some type of sport. So they'll either go play a tennis match, or I guess it's
Oh,
seasonal, in the winter they'll go skiing. They'll do something together because oh geez, I'm getting my research mixed up. I'm pretty sure she's the one that said that when the kids are gone, they still have to live together. And so she still prioritizes that relationship with him.
what
And I thought that was awesome too.
which is true.
Yeah.
And that's what they say, right? Like you have to be able to stand your partner because your kids are only here temporarily. If 18 years seems like a long time, but it really does flash before your eyes. I feel
Yeah.
like my son's going to be 2 and what? How? Like, how did I get through that pregnancy? That's right. You're adding like 3 years, and it really does go. And you do need a good partner there.
Yeah.
I also saw that they did a song together, Never Let You Go. So I think that's great that they get to collaborate and, work together and see that creative side in each other.
Yeah.
But I did want to go back to the water birth. And so, I mean, it is a hot topic. I am going to say that definitely talk to your provider if it's something you're interested, because not everyone's a good candidate. For what I was seeing and reading, the reason why she was comfortable with it was because her son Luca, her pregnancy was fairly easy, no complications. Again, she was younger.
Yeah, I was gonna
I think
say now
she
she's
was
older
24, I
though.
think.
Yeah.
But because it went really well, she qualified, right? Someone like me who's high risk, blood clot condition. I mean, I would not qualify. I wouldn't be a good candidate.
Yeah.
So definitely check with your provider. Also, what I didn't realize was that they offer. I think I just assumed all water births are at home, but no, some hospitals actually offer it. And so
That's
if
cool.
you're yeah, if you're in the in between, but you also want medical intervention, right available if you need it, then there are actually quite a few hospitals that offer it and that your
I'm
insurance
just
would cover.
laughing because
Why?
there is no way that I would ever do
Well,
that.
and so
It does not appeal to me whatsoever.
well, let me give you the benefits, and I do want to get your thoughts because I had a C-section, so I have
Uh-huh.
no idea what it's like. I mean, I was having contractions, but I went as soon as I got to the hospital. They took me to the back, and I was ready to roll for my C-section. So
Mm-hmm.
I was in labor for a few hours, but nothing like Stephanie. And so the benefits of a water birth, it keeps your muscles relaxed. You have less pain. You're able to move around more, to better position yourself so the baby, there's no complications when the baby's coming. Also, it's ideal because you have less medication that's required because you don't have as much pain. It
Mm-hmm.
also speeds up labor, so they found that the labor's almost cut in half, as far as time frame, and then it keeps your body temperature regulated. But again, these are things I've seen.
It just doesn't appeal to me, and I consider myself pretty middle ground, like with the whole scrunchy, crunchy, silky, whatever. Because like I believe in the power of eating healthy and,
Right, you're a big
getting
hydrator.
sunlight and drinking your water and getting your exercise. Like that stuff, I feel like, can make all the difference in the world. But when it comes to stuff like that, like I said, it just doesn't appeal to me in any way whatsoever. It's not that I was and explain this to me. I don't even know. So if I started having contractions, right, like at 1 in the morning on what was it, Friday night, and then Maddie came at noon the next day, is that
Right,
11 hours of labor?
right,
Is that
right.
that's what
And
that is?
and
Okay.
probably honestly before, because some contractions you don't even feel. And I remember Stephanie specifically texting me, and I was like, "How are you doing?" Because Daisy was kind of on her way, or I don't even remember. And she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm having some pain, but I'm cleaning." I'm like, "Steph,
No, I knew. I knew because remember, and I think I've said it before. I woke up that morning and I just the morning before and I felt it. I was like, baby's coming today. So I got up and I did laundry
yeah,
and I cooked the dog his food because yeah, so maybe it was even longer,
right."
right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
1 in the morning was when the pain became unbearable and I had to like get to the hospital. But so no, I mean when it hurt, right? And I was like, no, there's no way that this is Braxton hit contractions, like, this is real. If it's not, I'm gonna die. This is crazy. So no, so we go to the hospital, and then not long. So I started having like that bad pain at 1 a.m. By I think 3, maybe, they had given me the epidural, which I wanted, and that was my plan. And then it was smooth sailing. I fell asleep, I think, the rest of the night. The next day they came and checked where I was, and before I knew it, it was time to start pushing. The worst part was not being able to eat. Like, I was hungry, but beyond that, it was complete smooth sailing.
Did you feel, because I've asked other women who had natural births and with epidurals, they said they don't even feel the pushing. Like, they don't feel any pain. They're like, I literally just said, so C-section is so freaky for me. It's just such an,
well, no, the stuff you've told me, yeah,
out of a body experience, because you're
Yeah.
completely numb, but you can move like your arms and your head, but not the rest of your body. And it is so freaky to me. And for anyone that doesn't know or hasn't had one, I wasn't expecting it, but they tie your arms down, and it's just like, it was a lot for
That's
me.
a mind trick.
Yeah.
Do they give you something to like calm your mental status?
No, you do get like
a
a epidural, like, right? Because they numb you completely, but that's it, not your brain. I wasn't prepared for them to strap me. I'm like, oh my God, like, it was just, I don't know. But a lot of women are like, girl, what are you talking about? It was easy. You're in and out. Yeah, you got to lay there. Just, I don't know. Maybe me, I just wasn't prepared for it. But for you, how was the pain, like, in actual, right when she was coming?
Yeah. It doesn't hurt. I will say it didn't hurt. I didn't really have any feeling other than where you move, which I thought was really interesting. Like, after you get the epidural, if you lay on your side, all the medicine is going to go to that side. So you're going to feel the other side of your body, versus like, so kind of like how you're laying did affect like where I was having random pain. And I remember having like a random pain in my thigh. And that's how I knew that the contractions were coming, because I felt like some little bit of pain there.
Like a Charlie horse almost, or not
no,
even that?
It's a bad, yeah. It hurts, but because of the medicine, it wasn't that bad. It was just a little tinge of something that I knew that oh, this is it. This is the contraction. And I say in my thigh, but I mean like on the inner part of that whole area. Yeah. But anyway, no. So it still wasn't like super painful. It's just it actually was helpful, because instead of the nurse having to tell me like, okay, this is a contraction, it's time to push, I could like feel it, and I got into like a rhythm in that sense. But no, as far as pain goes, it was not painful at all.
And then what about, because another big thing about water births is you're able to move around more fluidly and reposition yourself, like you said, if you move to certain ways. So were you having to position yourself differently? Because I've also seen videos and I've spoken to women who will squat to give birth. Were you?
During birth, no. Okay. Before, while we were like trying to get me ready to go, they like position you on a Bosu ball type of thing, and get you moving in different positions, but not due to pain.
Yeah, like I've seen someone give birth literally holding the back of like the hospital bed and just like leaned over, like just squatting over, and they said,
maybe you didn't have the epidural at that point, because that hurt. Like, prior to the epidural, it hurt. It was painful, and I could totally see needing every possible intervention. Put me in a bath.
I think this was
warm water.
This was all the way natural, not even epidural. The one I saw.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're going natural like that with no epidural, I could see that, because prior to the epidural, painful. 12 out of 10, like I could see needing that stuff. So if you are doing something like that and you're at that point doing a water birth, like, yeah, I could totally see why that would be necessary.
Yeah, the biggest thing about water births is to avoid medication, right? So yeah, if you're trying to get an epidural and trying to get all the comfies, y'all need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, so that it would not appeal to me at all for that reason, because even it hurt so bad that when we got there, I was like, baby's here. She's going to come out. Like, what? Where are we? And she's like, we're at about less than 2 centimeters. Are you kidding me? There's no way.
Okay, so I was 2 centimeters when I got to the hospital with JJ, when I was contracting, and I was crying. I was crying in the morning. So I got there crying, but then they immediately hooked me up and I was getting cut open right away.
You were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, two is hard.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was painful. But yeah, so I mean, teach their own. You go, Hillary Duff.
So would you
Get your mama
say,
on.
going back to you though, would you say that the recovery was worse than the labor and delivery? Or
Yeah, 10 out of 10, completely worse. Yeah, it was much harder to recover because you don't have any pain meds and you can barely move. And I'm not going to say it was like unbearable, but you definitely want to be laying down, not walking a ton. Yeah.
and I know you said, we've discussed before that you had preeclampsia, but from the time you gave birth to her, how long do you feel, and not mentally, just physically, did you feel that you recovered at least to 90%?
I'm trying to remember. I do remember there was a point that I actually started like getting up and cooking
Yeah,
again.
like,
And when I'm doing that, like I feel normal. And that was probably at like 6 weeks. No, less, because at 6 weeks. No, yeah, it was about at 6 weeks.
see,
Which is crazy because we've talked about this, that they clear you to literally work out at 6 weeks. I can barely, start living my normal life again. So that just goes to show that everyone's different.
well, and that's just moving around. That's not the mental part. The mental part takes a lot longer because you are coping with a lot of new things, especially as a first time parent. If you're number two, number three, it's no big deal. But, or maybe it is because you're juggling a lot of kids, but you're really just adding them to what you're already dealing with. Um, but yeah, I think the first time, I don't know, it was a lot for me to go back at 12 weeks. I don't think we were ready. Another thing about Hillary Duff, though, going back to her, is I had not noticed, but her three daughters, so her son is Luca, but her three daughters all have very gender neutral names. And so I wanted to.
Oh, their names are so cute.
They're so
Banks
cute. Yeah, so Banks Violet, May James, that is so cute. And then Towns Meadow Bear.
Yeah.
And so I think she's going to put Towns on the map.
Bear's kind of weird, but
Bear? It's
how celebrities love to have their names.
Well, it's Bair, not like.
Not like BEAR.
Yeah, not a bear.
Okay.
Yeah. But Towns is cute.
Okay.
I'm like, I've never heard of that name, so I think she's putting that name on the map. And Banks.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah,
I
definitely love gender neutral names. Mine is very feminine Mexican name. And if I do have a girl, I would like a gender neutral name in there. We'll see. We see what will happen in the future. But a next mama that we chose briefly is going to be Miss Vanessa Hudgens. She also just had her baby this year with Cole Tucker.
First time mom, right? This was her first baby?
First baby. She is married to Cole Tucker from the Los Angeles Angels. He's a professional baseball player. But she is in her mid-30s, and congratulations. I mean, two Disney queens. I really love Vanessa Hudgens.
Oh, yeah, she's a Disney girl, too. I never was super into High School Musical, but when we discussed this before, one thing that I found on her that I was like, oh, you go, girl, was like pretty soon after giving birth. I think it was within the next couple days. She posted first blowout, like haircut and blowout, feeling great. Like she got her hair done, and I love that. I will shout that from the rooftops. I think I bring it up all the time. It's just how important it is to still prioritize yourself. You're still, and obviously you're not, you're making this baby your priority and your kids are your priority, but it is important to not forget about yourself and your own self-care and the things you liked before and what makes you feel good. So when she went on Instagram and posted that, I'm like, 10 out of 10, you go, girl.
Oh, and I haven't seen that, but I did see, what I saw was that they took photos of her right outside the hospital, and poor thing. I mean,
yeah, that was crappy.
There's not, you're obviously not going to look glamorous. Hello, people, you were in labor, right? And whether it's C-section or natural or whatever, it's rough on your body. You're exhausted. And so, yeah, I felt so bad for her. She did call out the paparazzi for that. And I had wondered, I think you and I touched base last time, just when we were talking, not on the podcast, but I wondered, I'm like, are they showing the baby's face or just like an angle? And why is it that they show some celebrities' kids and not all celebrity kids? Because we were talking about Eva Mendes too. I know Blake Lively, they usually blur her kids out too. But why not Vanessa's? Do you get to pick and choose? Do they have, I mean...
Was it a picture of the baby's face, or was it like
I don't
a
know.
side
Maybe it was a
thing? I
side.
don't think it was full on face from the ones I saw. And I don't even think it was a side thing. I think it was just like more so that they had the baby type of announcement, but I don't think they shared an actual
Oh,
picture.
good.
Well, I mean, she was holding the baby, but not, like blasting the baby all online. Is it a boy or a girl that she had? Do you know?
I don't know. And even,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't see. I don't think they've shared that, or maybe they have, but I didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
she's having a great year too. Woohoo! And
Yeah.
another mama who's having a great year, first time mom. She's a singer songwriter, record producer, model, actress. But Miss Ashanti, pregnant with her first baby at
Oh, blast
43.
from the past.
Huge blast from the. And you know what?
I don't keep up with her as much anymore, but
No, but I
she
was.
had the jams back in the 2000s. Not
Yes.
even like the 90s. Like it was the 90s.
Yeah, I was in middle school, is all I know, and I was, bumping to Foolish and all her songs. But
Yeah.
it's really, I mean, it is a blast from the past for us, but she has remained active. Like, I was looking at her resume, and she has like over 50 movies. I'm like,
I remember you saying that, and I'm like, what movies? Like I'm
no, she has so many.
I mean, good for her. That's cool, but
They're like, like Hallmark and Christmas movies and very family oriented movies.
oh, cute.
Yeah, and so to see her finally, she said her and her mom have a very close relationship. Her mom is actually her momager. And I think we should do a segment on that, on how many actual momagers there are. I mean, we know Chris, right, Jenner.
That'd be a good one, yeah.
But yeah, her mom's been running her career since she was a teenager. And actually, it's so funny. I remember the story as a teenager reading about her when she first came up. But she said the way it happened is she was downstairs doing laundry and singing, and her mom was like, getting on them because it was a cleaning day. And she's like, "Girl, turn off that radio." She's like, "Mom, it's me singing." And that's her like,
oh,
they're like, "Oh my God, you can sing." And so they started
Yeah.
pursuing that. But now she gets to be her own mother, and at 43, and she said, "I didn't know if this was going to be possible. It's a dream I've always had, and to finally have it happened." I mean, for me, who I wasn't sure if I was going to be a mom with my complications, different stories, but the same plane where you just don't know. I feel so happy for her. I feel so
Yeah.
elated. Like, I'm sure this is such an enchanting time for her. And she's married to her long time. Well, they were together 10 years, separated 10 years, reconciled, and now they're pregnant. This is her third kid, but she married Nelly December of 2023.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's like when, and I didn't know that, but I was gonna say it's like how everyone's like, oh, J Lo and Ben, they found their way back to each other.
No.
And, Ashanti and Nelly
It's
found their
Ashanti
way
and
back
Nelly,
to
yeah.
each other. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh no, that's cool though that she's in so many Hallmark movies. Maybe because I like those. Maybe I've seen her and I just didn't even realize that it was her because it's been so long since I've like kept up with anything with her.
And I'm glad I was looking through it because there are some. I love holiday movies. I love Hallmark. Like the fall is coming up. I'm like, hurry up, September. Once September 1st hits, I don't care if it's a little warm outside, I'm throwing all my fall stuff. And now I'm going to throw a little Ashanti on so I can watch some of her Christmas movies because I've seen so many reruns of different movies that it'll be refreshing to see that. But I also kind of relate to Miss Ashanti. I know she's slightly older than I am, but she is considered a geriatric pregnancy. I was pre-geriatric pregnancy with my son. I was 34 when I had him. I do hope and pray, and I don't know what the future holds, that I'm able to give him a sibling, but I will definitely be geriatric. And so geriatric just means you're
after 35.
Right, over 35, you're an advanced maternal age. And so there's a lot of risks that come with that a lot of celebrities don't discuss. And I don't think, and I think you and I touched base last time too, right? Some of the risks that are involved are miscarriage, stillbirths. I already have that risk with my APS, and then, to be older, to have any type of autoimmune, and then to be older because egg quality changes, sperm quality changes if your partner's the same age as you. So there are a lot of risks, but I've also was reading that there's also a lot of good things. The good benefits are the mental and emotional lifestyle that your child has. And so the downfall is, right, sometimes the mom goes through a lot and struggles to get her to have her baby. But when she does, and if everything's fine, they have found that a lot of these children are more emotionally stable because the mom is, right.
I'm sure. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So these kids are more successful in school, in careers, in businesses, and that's why a lot of people, right, that are well off or have money, that's why they wait till they're older. But a lot of these kids are financially stable. They don't have to go through the struggles of not knowing if you're going to have food, or
Yeah.
waiting for payday or living check to check. And so, pros and cons of being an older mom.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because you're slightly younger than me, and so but you're going to wait a couple years, right, for hopefully the next sibling. But what are your thoughts on geriatric? And
That's the plan. I don't like necessarily, and I don't even, obviously, I don't think they're doing it on purpose, like celebrities, glamorizing being an older parent, and not even being an older parent, but waiting, because that's not reasonable. You and I have talked about this. It's not reasonable for us normies to wait forever, right? Because they have the best interventions possible. They have the best doctors, the best nutritionists. They have access to all of this and can make it happen later. And so I don't know if they even talk about that. And I feel like they should, like, maybe just address that a little bit so that the normal population doesn't think that, they have forever, if that is something that they want, to have kids. But, like, for example, in the research that I've done, it doesn't seem to just be like the day you turn 35, clip it, what, it's not like that type of thing.
It's not
like,
a light switch.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, it's not a light switch. So, I'm not saying that we're going to wait and wait and wait all this time, but I also know myself, and I think that's just a lot of it, right? You have to just know what you're comfortable with. And so I know myself, and if I tried to add another baby in, right now, I feel like that wouldn't be great for me mentally, just mentally.
Right.
And so, to each, I guess, to all that to say, to each their own, but I do feel like celebrities should, be open about maybe, but I don't know, because I know that what we've talked about is, like, it's nobody's business, right? It's nobody's business how you choose to go about having a baby. But
right.
I don't know. I don't know. It's a hard thing to say.
It is, because I think it's glamorized, like, oh, I waited, it's okay, things happen when they're supposed to, and we glamorize that, thinking of things happen as they should or as they're supposed to. We glamorize it so much that we kind of stand still and kind of delay things. But there are a lot of risks that come with that, and like you said, she has medical access that we don't. If, like, for me, when I was miscarrying, I would call my doctor, hey, I'm spotting, this is what's going on, and I would be crying and frantic and trying to calm myself down, because I know, hey, what if I'm the one stressing and affecting my baby? And I mean, it's such a roller coaster of so many emotions, of such a plethora of emotions. But my doctor was always like, well, you have to wait till Monday, or wait, you have to wait till this.
Exactly.
They don't have to wait. They can have someone over at their house instantly to check on them, to tell them, to reassure them, to calm them. Or, you don't have that as a normal person.
Yeah.
And I do feel strongly, though, that I don't think it's anyone's business, but I do think it is important for them to recognize, hey, when I went to my doctor, they did say, I'm geriatric. This is, there's risks involved in that. And I think, like, Kourtney Kardashian is big on, oh, everything's fine, everything's beautiful, everything's, rainbows and sunshine. And I mean, you have to talk about, I'm sure they have the conversations, or maybe their doctors don't tell them. And maybe that's what we're missing, because these are celebrity doctors. But I wonder if they're having that conversation that, hey, this is pretty high risk.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear celebrities sharing that. And that is.
Though you did see Kourtney Kardashian talk a lot about her struggle to get pregnant in the show. She did.
Yeah,
she did show a lot of that. So.
Right, she did. I don't watch a lot of Kardashians.
Yeah.
But I do remember that she said, this isn't working, and she felt very pressured, and the medical intervention didn't end up helping, and they got pregnant naturally. And so, but she was still high risk. They still test you. Like, for me, They're like, we're going to test you for this and this and this and that. And I mean, they treated me like we're going to take all these diabetic tests. We're going to do all these extra tests, even though you're pre-geriatric because you're high risk. We're considering you already geriatric. And so I remember when Steph and I had different pregnancies because I had more scans, more tests, more like blood tests, more urine tests, more tests for my baby when he was born, and everything was fine. But just such a different experience from pre-geriatric to normal. And we're what, like 2-3 years apart?
Yeah,
It's not even at all. Like, but yes, going back, I am happy for Ashanti. The baby is strong and healthy. I'm so happy that she's happy at 43. I don't know if they plan to expand their family past that, but it is a good year when you are having the baby exciting. You dreamt of and did not know if you would ever be able to have that baby. I mean, who's having a better 2024 than her? You know?
Yeah.
That. So.
All girls with good 2024s with their new babies, and we went off on a couple tangents.
We actually did want to bring up the importance of a home water birth. If you are interested, really look into it. Really talk to your provider. A lot of insurance companies don't cover it. And I was looking at actually the highest part of paying for it is for your midwife. And I think the national average was about $4,200 to $4,500 out of pocket because your insurance doesn't cover. The downside of it is if you save all that money and then end up having to go to the hospital, none of that goes towards your deductible. So you're you're dealing with a whole new bill.
Same thing. So if you're famous and rich, not even famous, if you just have a lot of money,
then you're well off.
You're okay to, take that risk. But again,
us normies probably no. So, but yeah, so if you're into it, but some hospitals do offer it, and some insurances that cover that hospital, that is an option. So if you're into water births or considering it, this is only for low risk pregnancies, not older ages, not people with autoimmunes like me. But I'm not a doctor. Talk to your provider. They'll be the better person if you are wanting to get pregnant at an older age. And it's terrible to say older because 35 is not older. But again, make sure you talk to your provider to get a list of all the risks that come with it. But there's also a lot of pros. So just do your research. And we really just want to highlight these beautiful mamas and these different interventions that they have, because it does look a lot different for us middle class people.
Yeah. Same thing though. What's interesting is like, okay, so there's two aspects with me that I just thought of that to go back to the question about waiting, because like they say, that you should wait 2 years, like ideally 2 years.
A year and a half to 2 years, right?
Yeah. So then that puts me above 35. So like which, it's just kind of interesting, like which one would they recommend? Like I haven't talked to the doctor about this or anything, but like they did say, the 2 year period. And so I'm big on like medical advice. So I'm going to listen to what they have to say. But yeah, so I even just thought of that myself. Like, okay, 2 years or over 35, like which, are they the same? Whatever. Anyway.
Right. You got to weigh them out. And actually it's so funny you say that, because my doctor, I had a C-section and she's like, for C-section, you're cleared to start at 6 months. And then I spoke to my other doctor, because this was my doctor, I forget what they're called, but it's right after the emergency. That's just your physician to make sure after she checks my C-section and all that, right? I had her. She's my aftercare. But then I spoke to my higher risk and he's like, absolutely not. You're not allowed. Like, I mean, you're allowed to do whatever, but my advice is wait a year and a half, because even if you didn't push, your uterus went through so much trauma, it needs at least a year and a half to heal itself. Right. But then you see like old pictures in the 40s and I mean, those people, they're made different, but they have like 13 kids every year. There's like, what?
No, that's true too.
But real quick, before we let y'all go, another upside that I forgot to share, anyone looking into water births, is I hear there are no cuts.
So leave it to my crunchy friend. If you guys have water birth questions, B is your girl.
Oh, I haven't had it, but I was like really into it because I'm like, oh, I wish this is something that I might actually be interested, but I'm too high. I'm like above high risk. I'm like the highest, or maybe not the highest.
It's good to know though, and it's good to research and just weigh your options.
Because your skin expands. It's good that you know all of that. Well, when we discussed like for you, the recovery was a little harder. The recovery is so much less with water births because there's not tearing from what I'm hearing. There's the muscles, because you're more buoyancy in the water, right? You're able to exercise and carry people in the water that you're not
Yeah.
able to outside. And so
Yeah.
your muscles are just so relaxed that when you get out, the recovery is fairly quickly.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, look into it, guys, if you're interested. We did want to bring up these beautiful mamas. Again, they're having a great year, but also wonderful topics to discuss, older geriatric pregnancies. Welcome to my club. Or if you're into water birds. Yeah.
Yeah, good conversation starters. Anywho, thank you guys for tuning in on another Monday, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Living in the moment, it's the mom life.